Before this video begins, I have to warn you guys, this video will feature massive spoilers for all of Black Clover. There is no point of this video that is watchable if you have not read the manga. I guess technically there are parts you could skip to if you really want to hear me talk about certain things, but my expectation for anybody going into this video is that you know the ending, you have read the manga, and you are not afraid to get spoiled. So if that's you, carry on. If it's not, see you guys. Like and subscribe though. Hey, alright everybody, today we're talking about Black Clover by Yuki Tabata. It just ended in the last week, depending on when this gets uploaded. Actually, I'm not really sure, so maybe I ignore that part. And I just wanted to share my thoughts on the ending, and as I do in typical fashion, well, at least I want to do in typical fashion. I guess I've only done like 2 other videos like this in the past, but you know, if time permitted, I would do more like this. I want to talk about all of it. I want to talk about Black Clover as a whole, as your one-stop shop for everything Black Clover. I just want to talk about the whole series in retrospect. Obviously, can't talk about everything because the anime is still an ongoing thing. Season 2 is set to premiere this year, so maybe I'll update this in the future and give my thoughts on Season 2 once that's done and over with. But as of this moment, this is everything we got from Black Clover. And I will start by talking about the ending because I know that's what a lot of people are clicking on this video to hear about. So I'll talk about the manga briefly, just give you the brief history of its publication, very brief, nothing major, and then we'll go ahead and talk about the ending. If you want to skip ahead to any segments, any things I talk about throughout the video, it'll all be timestamped in the description, so you can take a look and see what we discuss in this video and what you want to hear me yap about. So, just some background. Again, Black Clover was written by Yuki Tabata, and it was published in Weekly Shonen Jump from February 16th, 2015, all the way to August 21st, 2023. What a run. But you'll notice I just said that this ended last week, and 2023 was not last week. And that is because this series actually moved magazines to Jump Giga due to Tabata's health at the time. He wasn't really able to keep up with the weekly release schedule, so they moved him to Jump Giga. The same thing actually happened with Gintama back in the day, so it's not an unprecedented thing, but it is pretty uncommon. And it finished its run within Jump Giga, spanning from December 25th, 2023 to May 1st of 2026. So under 3 years to finish its publication. Lasted for a total of 38 volumes composed of 392 chapters. I'm not really one to talk about sales too often, but this was a pretty well-performing series. It topped Oricon a couple times, and it has about 25 million copies in circulation, roughly, which is pretty damn good. Its popularity definitely peaked around when the anime was really in full swing and adapting very good stuff. The volume sales were way up around that time. So we could see another sales spike coming when Season 2 comes, but considering the fact that the manga is not ongoing anymore, it'll be a little weird. But the good thing is, and the unique thing about it is, potentially we could see the anime return around the time that the last volume releases. So that might be an interesting case where, I mean, last volume sales always get a bump anyways, but having the anime coincide with that release would probably be pretty huge for sales of that volume, actually. So they could be planning it that way, or maybe not, who knows. The series had always had like an odd amount of popularity. It was never like blow your mind, amazing, like selling gangbusters, nowhere near Demon Slayer levels or anything, but it had a really solid fan base and very, very good anime openings, which I will talk about later, that kind of brought people's attention towards it. But this is all small talk for later. Let's just go ahead and start the first section of this video, which will be the ending. I know it's weird to start with that, but I think that's what you guys want to hear about first. So let's go ahead and do it. All right, so Black Clover has ended. We got the last 3 chapters within the last week. Again, maybe not, depending on when this is uploaded, I don't know. So my thoughts on the ending and my thoughts on the final arc are both 2 very different things. I think on the whole, the final arc was a pretty big disappointment. It had its moments, but it didn't really utilize its time well, and once this shift was made from Weekly Shonen Jump to Jump Giga, you really felt it. Its pacing just went totally off the rails, and it started to just feel like every time we were getting chapters, which it was a seasonal release, by the way. Jump Geek is a seasonal magazine, so you get like 4 issues a year. And in those issues, you would get like, I don't know, 3 chapters on average of Black Clover, sometimes more, sometimes less, which was nice, but it just felt like, here's like 3 moments and I'll see you next season. Like, it didn't feel like a coherent story. It just felt like we're ticking boxes every season until we get to the ending. And in a way, the ending also feels that way, but not in a dissatisfying way. I had the most fun with these final 3 chapters than I have with the series in a very long time. I think it was really satisfying and fulfilling as somebody who's been reading the series for a very long time. I don't even really know how long. And it just kind of worked, you know? I didn't expect it to be honest, considering how we ended the arc as a whole. I don't consider these last 3 chapters to be part of the prior arc. The prior arc ended in the last batch of chapters, and that was a dud. It was kind of a cool fight, but the conclusion of it itself and bringing back everybody that died, it was just like, man, what are we doing? The stakes in Black Clover have always felt really artificial, considering the fact that there's almost no consequences to anybody's actions. People just come back to life always. And really the only death now I can recall is just at the very end with Lucius. That's it. I might be forgetting other deaths throughout the course of this series, but if I am, I don't think they were too memorable, because I don't remember them. On the whole, yeah, that final arc, it just didn't really hit. Nothing it was trying to do really landed, in my opinion, or at least very few things from it did, and it all in all just made for a really exhausting read. But the ending itself, which is what I want to primarily talk about, I will have more to say about the final arc in a later segment, I thought it was really nice, actually. I always wanted to see that Asta and Yuno fight, even though, I'll tell you now, I'm going to talk about this later, but I will tell you now, I don't like Yuno very much. I think he was always a really, really weak character, not physically, obviously, but writing-wise, he's just kind of a guy. It's not like a character I want to root for ever. He's just somebody who's there, but I have to care about him, or at least make myself care about him because Asta does, and that's our guy. So having him heavily involved in the final arc didn't help. But despite all that, I still wanted to see them fight at the end. And maybe it's because I wanted to see Yuno get his ass kicked, and that delivered. I did get to see a really cool fight. It was 2 chapters long, but remember guys, Naruto and Sasuke, their final fight, that was 2 chapters long as well. It's not unheard of, and this was actually really well done in 2 chapters. There was very little dialogue, in fact, really no dialogue between the 2 of them. There was just some commentary from people watching, and it wasn't like Yuno turned evil. No, it was a friendly fight to determine who becomes Wizard King, and that is exactly how I wanted this to go. I'm so happy we got this fight. I cannot wait to see it animated one day. I know they're going to go all out. It'll probably be a much bigger spectacle than it is in the manga. It was already really nice in the manga, for sure. I loved it. The paneling was really great. The action flowed so well. Tabata is kind of a master at action paneling, I think. It's been some of the easiest to read in my entire time reading manga. If nothing else, this series is well worth reading for the fight scenes. They are so fun to read every single time. So their final fight was incredible, and ending it the way it was, I thought was also an incredible decision. I thought it was so satisfying, rewarding. Asta really beat him with his own strength. He put Yuno in his place, this spoiled asshole who gets everything he wants. He's not spoiled, I know his background. But Yuno is the guy that gets everything handed to him on a silver platter with putting in minimal effort. Even though we're supposed to believe that he's putting in just as much effort as Asta is, I don't see it. We're not shown that enough to believe it. Asta is the embodiment of hard work. He is such a lovely character in that regard. And to see him come through in, the final fight of the last arc, I really do think he kind of got one-upped by Yuno, which is really unfortunate. But, then we get to see him kick Yuno's ass. And I didn't read this all continuously. I would like to do a reread of the series at one point in time, but that is not anytime soon. And maybe once I see it flow properly, I won't have the same opinion, but remembering it now, I feel like it kind of balances out. We get enough Asta content to make this a believable and earned moment. And the final chapter itself I thought was really nice on the whole. Got a ton of confirmed ships, which is fun. They ran through the gauntlet of all these ships that got confirmed. Some obvious and expected, others not so much. Like Rill and Charmy was a crazy one. Rill always had like a one-sided crush, but I guess they fell in love off screen somehow. That's nice. Happy for them. Yami and Charlotte, obviously one that everybody saw coming. And even beyond ships, just seeing where everybody ended up. I think it was really cool. Noct being the leader of the Black Bulls now. Really cool decision. I love that conclusion for Yami, just kind of doing his own thing. He's done. He's not going to serve under the guy he taught. That wouldn't feel right. So he goes off and does his own thing, and that's perfect for him. Absolutely perfect. Yami, probably my favorite character in the series, by the way. I am just such a sucker for that archetype of character. Like this, I'll talk about this later. Sorry. I don't want to focus in too much on individual characters at this point. I want to save that for a later point in the video. This is just about the ending right now. And I would be remiss to not mention the character that was done dirty in this ending. Noelle, a character who has been handled with such grace throughout this entire series. I love Noelle. She's one of my favorite characters. Many people's favorite. I mean, she was constantly #1 in like every popularity poll. She is such a good character. And to have her final page, until we get more content in the manga, with the volume release will have more content. That is a confirmed detail. Don't know what that looks like, but really hope we see more Noelle, because that was rough. It's just about her and Mimosa being like, okay, let's figure out which one of us is going to date Asta. That is kind of an insulting final page to such a well-developed and well-written character as Noelle. That was really disappointing. That actually bummed me out to know that is the last time we're seeing Noelle. Oh my god, I hated that. Mimosa, whatever. I never really cared for Mimosa. I don't really care about that being her last moment. But Noelle, character we've spent so much time with, seen her grow so much, and her final moment is just being like, yep, let's battle to see who dates Asta. That is disgusting. To be honest, I hate that. That is insulting. And yes, I know her arc was concluded in the prior arc in a pretty good way. I thought it was a little forced and ham-fisted, but I did like it for the most part. So yes, there is that. You could say it balances out, but I really would have liked to have a nice little epilogue moment with her and her family. Now that they have made amends, they've welcomed her back in, she put them in their place. I would really have liked to see a peaceful moment between all of them to just see where their heads are at. Like, how are they feeling about everything now that conflict's over? It's been like 2 years since, or 2.5, however long it's been. But what's up? Are we good? I wish we got to see that, but we don't. And that is such a shame because, oh my god, she deserves so much better. She really did. Here's hoping for the volume release. I am praying we get more from her in that because, geez, that sucked. Being the captain of the Golden Dawn and just being, all, oh, wow, I'm so cool and awesome. Let's see some new people or whatever. Let's get some new recruits in here that can topple me. Whatever, I don't care about, whatever. He had his ending, I guess. It was fine enough. His ending was with Asta at the final fight. He doesn't even need any more. And that's another thing I can say about Asta. His ending was also in the previous chapter. In this final chapter, we barely see him. He's in the present, only on the final page. And I think that's actually awesome. The chapter itself is building all the way to that final page where we get to see him full gear, full decked out in his Wizard King clothes, just about to take on some new threat. And I see so many people, I want to make my opinion on this clear right away. So many people are like, what is that spaceship? Is this sequel bait? What's going on? Blah, 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 blah. Wondering about like lore shit. Guys, it does not matter. That is not what that is there for. No, it's not sequel bait. It is just a thing that happens so we can see Asta do something bombastic in the final chapter. There will be nothing to come of it. It doesn't matter what that spaceship or whatever is. It's just a thing for Asta to take down. I bet in universe he probably took this thing down in like one swing and it was over. This isn't going to start like a whole arc. Now, not that I would complain if we got like a movie post-series. I would actually love the fuck out of that. I really hope that happens. But let's finish the anime first. If it's not clear, I really like Black Clover. It means a lot to me, actually. But that's more general talk later. And it's not even really the series itself that means a lot to me. I gotta make that clear because, on the whole, it's a series of highs and lows. Has very, very high highs. I will say there are some incredible things in this manga, but some pretty abysmally low lows as well. That ultimately makes for kind of a mixed bag of a product. Nothing wrong with that. A lot of manga are like that, and I forgive a lot of its flaws. It's a lot more forgivable than other series, because at the end of the day, its flaws are harmless. Anyway, what really means the most to me about this series is that character of Asta. And I know I said I wanted to save like general character discussion for later, but Asta's the exception I'll make here. Asta is our main character, obviously, and his journey is very inspiring, actually. He is actually a character who sticks true to himself the entire way through. He's this character who came from nothing, was the black sheep of the whole world, no magic, got this fucked up book that looks like shit and everybody's freaked out by it. And he still claws his way to the top and becomes Wizard King on the very last page. I think that is a beautiful thing. I love that the last thing we see in the whole manga is him as the Wizard King. That is beautiful. Asta is a character about strength and hard work. He is seriously one of the most inspiring people I have ever seen in manga. I know that sounds insane, but he is just so effective at being an inspiration. His journey is so clear, and again, the most important thing I always have to drive home is he always stays true to the original vision of the character. People like Naruto, very similar story, about starting from nothing, clawing your way up through brute force. But throughout the course of the series, you learn things about him that make it less special, because he didn't actually come from nothing. He was the son of like one of the strongest people in the world. He's the reincarnation of an ancient god of the shinobi world. Like, it's just all this nonsense that piles on at the end that makes you be like, well, okay, I mean, was this even really hard work at this point? I don't know. And it was. I know. I love Naruto, guys. Do not, come on, look. I love it. I love it a lot. It's got flaws. And Naruto as a character, I think, is one of them. But can confidently say with Black Clover, it is absolutely not. In fact, its main character is its biggest strength, and its side characters. There are some Yami, Noel, Magna, all of the Black Bulls. Literally, I think every Black Bull for the most part. There's a couple like meh, whatever, like Henry. I don't know. He's fine, I guess. Or even Zora. I mean, Zora's cool, but there's not a lot to him. The Black Bulls are just, you know, they encompass a really strong story about found family that I love so much. It's just a group of a bunch of weirdos and losers, and they come together and do incredible things against all odds, and time again they prove themselves to the other guilds that have like no faith in them. They think they're a joke, and they climb their way to the top too. It's about seeing a family do the same thing that Asta is trying to do individually, and it's a really beautiful and effective thing. You root for the Black Bulls the entire way through. Your faith in them has never wavered in the same way it's not wavered in Asta. You know he's going to accomplish this from the outset, and to see him do it is amazing. It's not handed to him. He works hard the whole way through to make this happen. This series never does the whole like, oh, he's the son of God or whatever. He's the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. He's got innate powers in him that's so strong that he can topple a nation. None of that. He is just Asta through and through, the whole way through, and he works to get his strength to the point of being Wizard King. And that's awesome. It works so well. And for that, I will always respect and admire Tabata in this series for just being able to commit. They never do any weird shit with Asta. They do it with, he's like the son of, he's the heir to the Spade Kingdom, or what is it, Diamond Kingdom? I don't even remember, or care, honestly. He's some stupid shit. But no, not Asta. He's just a kid. He is just a kid who worked hard against all odds and made it to the top. Beautiful. It is such a well done story in that regard. It fails in a lot of other areas, but with Asta, it succeeds and then some. I think it is a damn near perfect character arc, if not just straight up perfect, seriously. One of the best handled MCs I've seen in Shonen. So in terms of the ending, the final 3 chapters, I think it is pretty much as perfect as you can get. Yes, rushed. Yes, a little lackluster in the side character department, but in terms of fulfilling the desires to see our main character succeed and accomplish his goals, absolutely perfect. I would change nothing about how Asta is handled in these final chapters. So I can pretty confidently say that I actually loved this ending. Not, I guess, as an ending for the entire series, because it did let me down in some regard. Like, we don't get to see everything. There is a lot of loose threads that have just not been called attention to at all. But just looking at it as a story about Asta, perfect. Now again, the final arc, everything leading up to this point, I don't know about all that. It was pretty rough. It reminded me a lot of the war arc in Naruto, where it's just kind of, it's actually very similar, because I think the ending of Naruto is also very strong, like the final 3 chapters, in fact. But everything leading up to it is a nightmare. So it kind of the same trajectory, unfortunately. It even ends with a fight between the 2 main characters, I guess. Obviously, Tabata took a lot of inspiration from Naruto. That is no secret. But I think he did the main character's story arc better than Naruto did, so hey, good job on that. As you can tell, I'm extremely positive on this ending. I think it was done extremely well, and I have very little complaints about it. But now, I would like to take a step back and talk about the whole series, the whole journey here, and talk about how I feel about every arc that led us here. But before that, if you decide to click off the video and you're satisfied with just hearing about the ending, just want to end off this part by saying thank you, Tabata, for creating this manga. Asta's journey is truly inspiring, and it does mean a lot to me, and he actually comes to mind in my daily life more than he probably should. It's kind of insane how this character has resonated with me so much. I just think he is such an inspiration. It's really admirable how well he was written. Same with Noel, Yami, man, Finral, every Black Bull, and even some characters beyond. Not a whole lot. I think the Black Bulls are the primary focus, but so many characters in the series have left an impression on me in some regard, and I will always be appreciative of being able to see the story of a kid who came from nothing, smiled through it all, found his family, inspired his family to soar to even higher heights, and then brought himself up using his family. His family lifts him up too. And yes, it's the Black Bulls. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the people back in whatever village. I forget his hometown's name. I'm talking about the Black Bulls. That is his family. They lift him up. They elevate him. And I guess as well, served as more like a springboard to set new goals or whatever for, for Asta throughout the series, but whatever, I don't care. His contributions are minimal. It's all about Asta and the Black Bulls, and time again, they are handled with such grace. Even if the final arc did let me down a little bit in that department, or a lot of bit in that department, to be honest, I still have to appreciate it for everything it did before that. It's a really nice story with a lot of holes in it, but as for the ending itself, amazing work. Thank you, Tabata. What a run. Alright, let's talk about the whole journey now. The manga started with an arc called the Magic Knight's Entrance arc, and let me tell you, this series did not start super well. I'll give you a little bit of a background on my history with this series, at least as I recall it. It has been quite some time, but I think I did start the manga in close proximity to when it started because I heard a lot of buzz about it being like the next big thing or whatever. Fell off very quickly. The beginning events did not impress me in any capacity. I thought it was the most basic thing in the world, and I just kind of let it sit and rot for a while. I didn't touch it after maybe like 2 chapters. Flash forward to the anime, getting a lot of buzz again, at least before it released. Okay, here we go. Adaptation of the next big new gen hit. Here we go. Done by the same studio as Naruto. It's gonna be massive. It did end up being pretty big, of course, but I wasn't really super on board, but I was like, all right, let me just, maybe I didn't get into it as the manga. Let's try out the anime. And the anime, guys, if you don't remember the early episodes, Asta's voice actor, Gakuto Kajiwara, sounded abysmal. He really came into his own later. I gotta make that clear off the bat. He's great now. But at the beginning, I think he was trying way too hard. His voice was agonizing to listen to. And that was really taking away from my enjoyment. I still wanted to give it a shot, but I bounced off very quickly. I think I watched maybe 10 episodes or so. I remember the last episode I watched was in this arc, I think, where Asta and Noel are fighting some dude who like took over a small village, and Asta, his final attack, he brings Demon Slayer down on this guy's shoulder, and that's like the finishing blow. It doesn't cut through him or anything, it just like hits him on the shoulder, and the guy drops and he's down for the count. And I just like laughed my ass off. The animation wasn't very good, voice acting was atrocious, and I was just like, I'm done. This series is not for me. So I dipped forever, watched the first arc, read 2 chapters, and I was done. I was out. And it wasn't until much later to where a little arc called the Elf Reincarnation arc is in full swing, and it is getting a lot of buzz. If you guys were around in the anime manga space when that arc was being published, or even when it was being animated, people were hot on that shit. They were like, this is the next Chimera Ant, this is this and that, this is the biggest shit ever, this is new gen Jesus, we've made it, this is the mega arc of the century. And it's really damn good. I do love that arc. That is by far the best arc in the series. To this date, it is extremely good. The ending's a little weak, but it's getting a lot of buzz. My attention is starting to turn to it. I'm like, okay, really? Like, this is definitely hyperbole. You guys are not serious. It's not that good. And I still kind of ignore it for a while. Pretty sure like the entire manga run goes through. It's at least near the end of that arc. And the anime has gotten to that point. And episode 100 drops. So this is very far in the future from when I was last talking about it. But episode 100 drops. I see a clip posted on Twitter. It's of when Asta and Yuno are fighting Licht. For about, I don't know, pretty early into the arc. And it's this moment where Asta and Yuno are fighting together, which in and of itself was cool to see at the time, because I was like, I had a higher opinion of Yuno back then, or at least a more unknowing opinion of him. So I was just seeing this from an outsider's perspective, seeing those two fight together, and this insane moment where Asta, he's like underwater, he's beaten, bruised, nobody thinks he's getting back up. The opening music, opening one, starts blasting, and Asta just flies up and joins Yuno in the sky, does this amazing combo attack, and I was sold. I was like, okay, I need to watch this now, because that was so sick. And to this day, still, I love that moment to death. Not my favorite moment, but it is awesome. It's so cool. I get chills every time. So episode 100 inspires me to start the journey. Obviously, I don't catch up in time to watch episode 101. It's far after that, but I do commit to watching the entire anime, and I did end up kind of falling in love with it at that point. I just forced myself to get through the early stuff. It's pretty rough. I'll reel back and talk about this Magic Knight's entrance arc. I don't even really remember where this starts or ends, to be honest. Not a great introduction. I think this series is incredibly weak at the beginning. It was just kind of going through the motions and trying to get an audience, I guess. And it worked. And the same thing kind of goes for the first couple arcs. The dungeon exploration arc, not that great. This is like okay at best. It felt, honestly, in hindsight, that arc feels really out of place. Like, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't really fit into the story, in my opinion. Whatever, it's okay. And that lasts from, oh, I didn't mention, I wanted to talk about the chapter and episode count as well. The first arc, by the way, is chapter 1 through 10 of the manga and episodes 1 through 13 of the anime. Somehow it's more episodes than it is chapters. I don't know what the hell they did there. And the dungeon exploration arc is chapter 11 through 21 and episodes 14 through 19. That's a little better. Probably still should have been shorter, but pacing of the anime was kind of all over the place. Then we have the Royal Capital Assault arc, which is chapter 22 to 37 and episodes 20 to 27. This is, you know, it's starting to get me on board. I was still watching very slowly. I was seriously watching probably like one episode a day at this point, because I wasn't into it. I was just getting through it. I was like, all right, I know this gets better. I've heard such good things. I gotta get through this. And it does get better, but not here. That's for sure. What that arc does start to set up is the overall, like, ongoing narrative of the large majority of the series, which is dealing with these guys called the Eye of the Midnight Sun. This is like the Akatsuki of Black Clover. Very mysterious group, very mysterious intentions. We start to learn about them here, and that kind of comes to a head in the following arc, which is where I really started to get on board. This is the Eye of the Midnight Sun encounter arc, which spans chapter 38 to 56 and episodes 28 to 39 of the anime. This was awesome. I think this was such a better introduction to the series, even though it's pretty far in, all things considered. But this really got things going. This got the proper plot moving. Like, I mean, I guess the arc prior started to do that too, but this really felt like, oh, okay, this is it. This is like long game stuff. We're setting up things that will be paid off far in the future. Yami versus Licht happens here. Coolest shit ever. That fight in particular is what really brought me on board. It also, this part of the anime also has an incredible opening. That really brought me on board. I know I'm talking a lot about the anime here, but that was my first experience to all of this. I read the manga later, which I'll get to the point where I started to read the manga. But that was a really good arc in terms of spectacle. But then we get to low-key still maybe my favorite arc, to be honest. Elf Reincarnation, obviously I'll get to that later, also amazing, but I really think the Seabed Temple arc is very solid. This spanned chapter 57 to 74 and episodes 40 to 51 of the anime. This arc has sauce, man. This is a really tightly written arc, I think. It's very effective. It utilizes characters that we met, like this is still dealing with Eye of the Midnight Sun. That's pretty much everything from here on out, with some minor exceptions. And it culminates in this fight with this guy who feels impossible to beat. We're literally throwing every character we know. The whole of the Black Bulls is fighting this guy. And all of the Black Bulls get amazing moments throughout the course of this arc, but all of them get to fight against this guy. It's a big team fight, and that is fucking rad. You don't see team fights done well in manga very often. It gets really chaotic and convoluted a lot of the times. They don't know how to use all the characters. Tabata does. He is very good at team fights, and this is the best one he has ever done. It is amazing to see this level of teamwork, just how the trust they have in each other. It's like their first real big challenge as a team. And it's incredible, dude. I get chills every time. It's another moment where they play the opening. Asta's final hit against Veto gives me chills every time. I'm probably going to play a little clip from it here from the anime. Oh my god, it's so good. One of the coolest moments in the series. It hits so hard. I love that arc. Followed by the Witch's Forest arc, which spans chapter 75 to chapter 101. Very long, and episodes 51 to 65 of the anime. Very forgettable. This arc has its moments. It's got some cool stuff in it, but overall, I didn't really care for it all that much. Probably one of the weaker arcs in the series. And sort of similarly with the Royal Knights arc, I didn't know it was called that, but like the exam or whatever, the big battle royale thing they do, tournament. Chapter 102 to chapter 149, episodes 66 to 96 of the anime. What the hell, guys? My god, that's long. Yeah, this is kind of it's a whatever, pretty forgettable arc. It definitely has its moments. It is one of my favorite moments in the series, actually, where I think it's, who is it? It's Asta, Luck, and Magna. Yeah, with the help of Charmy, she launches them. Goes and saves Finral because his brother's a maniac and like about to kill him, and they all just like land in and put their weapons up to Finral's brother's throat. I don't remember his name. What is it? Lance is coming to mind, but I don't think that's right. Maybe there's an L in there somewhere. I don't know. I forget. But that's an incredible moment too. My god, there's some really good stuff. But on the whole, it just feels like an excuse to introduce some more mages or magic knights. It's fine. I don't know, whatever. But then, of course, you begin the mega arc, the Elf Reincarnation arc, which lasts from chapter 150 all the way to chapter 228 and episodes 96 to 157 of the anime. Very long, but very worth it. This arc is really damn good for the most part. It does kind of fail me in some ways. There's a lot at the end that I don't really care for how it's handled. Julius's like fake out death. I mean, he does die, but then he comes back as a kid. But obviously Julius has a whole mess of things going on after this. Whatever, it ends up being kind of okay. Didn't really land all that well, but there's so many good moments. Julius versus Licht, what a fight. Anything Asta does on the entire arc, countless fights. I mean, Marileona is off the chain in this arc. This is like her first real showcase, and she is incredible. What a character. Noelle has some great fights. Everything's just firing on all cylinders. The plotline with the elves is really strong. I really, really liked it. Everything with Nero at the end is really cool, even though it kind of feels a little tacked on, but it's a really cool reveal that this dumb like gag bird character is actually a very integral part of the story at hand here. So many great moments throughout the course of this arc. I love it. It never gets old. I've gone back and re-experienced so many moments from it. It is truly just such a fun ride through that arc. I could re-experience it endlessly. It's one of those arcs. It's not like, it did not end up being like the Chimera Ant for a new generation. If it stuck the landing a little better, maybe you could argue it. There's some really good stuff in there. Nothing near as emotionally complex as Chimera Ant, but it's really good. But it is still in the same vein of Chimera Ant. I can watch and read this endlessly. It is such a fun arc. I really, really enjoy it. It had like my first time watching through, it had me on the edge of my seat. And this is where I caught up. I caught up well before the ending. It was, I don't know, round episode like probably like 110, something like that. I feel like that sounds about right. And once I caught up to the anime, I was like, I'm not waiting. Why would I do that to myself? I'm just reading the manga. So I read up until whatever was out at the time, which I think at that point, it was either right at the end of this arc or it was past it. I don't think it was past it. I actually think it was wrapping up. I feel like it was like the final fight of the elf arc, like the fight against devil guy. Damn, I can't remember. He comes out of nowhere. The devil they fight at the end. What the hell's its name? I'm gonna have to look it up. Hold on. Zagrid. That actually came to mind, but I was thinking that was a different character from later. But I had it right. I should have just said it. And then, yeah, that's when I read the manga. So now we're in territory where I have read it before I watched it. And the first and one of very few, it's actually not a whole lot of arcs happen after this because they're all really long from this point on, but the Heart Kingdom Joint Struggle arc. This is a rather short one. This is 229 to 260 and episodes 158 to 167 of the anime. This is kind of just, it's really not an arc per se. It definitely is. It has a beginning and an end, but it's more just setting up the next arc, which is, there's a whole like combined mega arc, I would say. This is after a time skip, so this is the beginning of the buff Asta era. He's massive and jacked, and it's really funny, honestly. It's a really funny design, I have to admit. It grows on you, you get used to it, but when it first debuted, I was like, what the fuck am I looking at? Why does he look like that? And honestly, this is actually a really good arc. I think, just segmenting this part of this whole like mega arc is a good idea because maybe the best part, kinda. I'll talk about the next part in a second. A lot of amazing stuff happens. Asta and Yami versus Dante. Holy shit, what a moment. That's actually right around where the anime ends. The initial fight of Noelle and Megicula. I think that's how you pronounce her name. I've never really said that out loud before, but something like that. Amazing stuff. It's a really fun arc. Really strong in terms of reintroducing all these characters after a time skip. And then we get to the Spade Kingdom Raid arc, which for a while had people being like, this might be better than Elf, but then the ending happens and you're like, okay, no, absolutely not. This takes like the mediocre ending of the Elf arc and amplifies it by 100. Very lackluster ending to the arc, but my god, this arc has the absolute best fights in the series. Bar none. Every single one is a banger. Obviously, the one that everybody and their mom will be talking about and still talks about now even. Magna versus Dante. Literally a perfect fight. One of the best in manga history, in my opinion. Everybody's very much anticipating this being animated, and I am among them. I can't wait. It's an incredible fight, and that alone is enough to warrant this arc getting merit, but there's plenty of others that also really stand out in this arc. The Noelle fight's amazing. Even Yuno gets a really good fight here. Literally every fight. It's just perfect. It's just, if you're wanting to see an arc full of amazing fights, check that one out. I can't wait for it to be animated. It reminds me of 1000 Year Bloodborne Bleach, where you're just seeing like the coolest fights of all time with every chapter. And this was no exception. This was a blast to read week to week. It did get very tiresome at the end, I got to admit. It was really spinning its wheels near the end of that arc, but I still ended up really enjoying it. Not the best in the series, but it's really strong. It has literally the best moments in the series within it. So gotta prop it up somehow. It's really worthy of praise. Until it's not. It doesn't land every single aspect of it either. There's some dud moments along the way, but on the whole, pretty strong. Oh, by the way, I don't think I said the Spade Kingdom arc is chapter 261 to 331 of the manga. Very long. And I mean, currently it is episodes just 168 to 170 of the anime, but that's just the beginning. The anime weirdly ends like right at the beginning of this arc. It's a very strange place to end it, but it's what happens. The rest of it will be in season 2. And the final arc, I don't really know what people are calling this arc, to be honest. I just see people calling it the final arc. It's obviously lasts from chapter 332 to 392, and it is kind of a dud. There's some moments, but nowhere near the highs of anything else. When I think back to this arc, I honestly remember the beginning the most fondly. I think when Lucius first appears, it is such a shocking moment that I can't help but love it. It is one of the coolest introductions to an arc I've ever seen. Like the gang is just like happy and celebrating, like hell yeah. And then this guy just shows up and he's like, the world is over. This is it. You're all fucked. I love that. It was such a cool moment. I'll never forget reading that. What a page turn that was. I think it went on hiatus or something after that for a few months. Kind of started the downward spiral of it moving to Jump Giga. But when I think back, I remember that. I remember, the time in the Japanese-inspired country, which was great. I actually love that part of the arc. When Asa's on his own, learning about Yami's past and all that. Really cool. But then we get to the main conflict and I'm just kind of like, it's something. There's some stuff to like, there's some cool fights, but still nothing that really stands out. I just found myself being underwhelmed with most of the things happening. I thought it was boring to bring back all these dead characters and just have them fight. It was very Naruto, obviously. It's incredibly Naruto war arc all the way through. It goes back to a common complaint that a lot of people have with the series is that it feels like it doesn't have a lot of originality, which you're not wrong. It doesn't. It borrows and takes from a lot of things that came before it without really giving it a unique spin, which kind of results in just a middling product, I suppose. I love Black Clover, I really do, but it's hard to deny that it's kind of just taking from other things and not really introducing many new concepts. And unfortunately, the final arc and even the ending itself is a prime example of that. It's a very basic and safe ending, which is fine. I think it's fun and nice because of that. It's kind of refreshing in a way, but it is pretty safe. And the final arc is just, I guess it's supposed to be like fan service slop, but it doesn't even really come off that way. It's just kind of like things happen for like 60 chapters and then you're done. I really want to try reading it like through the whole way to see how it flows, because we all had a very rough experience reading this, having to wait months upon months for just another batch of like 3 chapters. So a little botched in that regard. So on the whole, yeah, Black Clover, not a very original idea, but I really think the characters are what help it shine the most. And that's what I want to talk about next. Let's go ahead and talk about some characters. Like I previously stated, I think that the strongest aspect of Black Clover is its characters, at least its core cast of characters. And I don't want to talk about like every character, there's far too many to do that, or even every Black Bowl. I just kind of want to talk about my favorites or the ones that stand out the most to me. And I don't even know why I have the iPad actually, I intentionally wrote no notes for this section because I just want to see who comes to my mind genuinely when I sit here in front of this camera and try to tell you about the characters that stood out to me the most in this series. So I don't even know what this segment's going to be like. Let's see what happens. The first I want to talk about is Yami, who is my absolute favorite character in the series. I am such a sucker for this archetype of a guy who feels like he was the main character of another story. Like, you think about Naruto's role in Boruto or something like that, a sequel series where the main character is a side character. That's how Yami feels in Black Clover, but I mean, there is no Yami series. He's Yami. He's only in Black Clover. But it feels like he's been through it all. Like, this guy has such a history to him, and we get to learn more about it later, but for a while, it's kind of mysterious. He's just some dude who has a lot of history. And that's something that really resonated with me early on. I just love his attitude. In his fight with Licht, he has this like blasé attitude, like, oh, I've seen all this shit before. Like, here goes his like power up, his final form. And he's even talking about himself like, oh, I know by the end of this fight, I'm gonna like unleash some new power and awaken my abilities and take him out. It's like he knows it all. He's been through all the shonen tropes himself. It's so fun. And he never got old at any point. I've talked about Asta enough. I think you guys understand my perspective on Asta. He's an incredible character. Love him to death. And I think you understand my thoughts on Yuno as well. He's just so boring. I can't stand the guy. Literally nothing about him or his squad that I really care about. It's just all around lame. Noelle, beautifully written character. Her ending, not perfect by any means, kind of insulting to be honest, but the way she was handled throughout the majority of the story is amazing. I love her story. I love her strength, her inner strength, because she has a different kind of backstory. She's not one who came from nothing by any means. She in fact comes from a lot. She's from a very rich and noble and honorable family, but she's the outcast of the family. So she's trying to become something on her own. But that finds her in the Black Bowls, which she's at first like, oh, this sucks, it's the worst squad. But because of Asta and because of the Black Bowls, she is able to fit comfortably into that newfound family, and in turn, apply that strength that she gets from her new family into her old family, put them in their place, and make them understand what they did to her whole life. It's a really well done arc, and I love how she's handled. The tsundere stuff that she does is not amazing, but whatever, I can forgive it. She's great. I love Noelle. So many Black Bowls members. Magna is incredible. He's just such like a banger of a character. He didn't get to do damn near anything in the final arc, but oh my god, Spade Kingdom Magna, what a moment. I could talk about that endlessly. He's just like the manly man character. That's an archetype I always really enjoy. He hits it out of the park, literally. Baseball bat. I think Julius is another character I really enjoyed. He wasn't handled super well after the elf stuff. He has a really weird role after that, and obviously the final arc, he's the villain, kinda. And even his end, like his ultimate end, felt really rushed and unsatisfying. It's something I hope the anime kind of expands on. But his original end in the Elf arc was actually really good. He dies, you know, defending his city, the world even. That's such an awesome display of power. A scene I always remember is when he's fighting Licht, and Licht's like, where the hell is this guy's grimoire? Like, what? I don't even know what I'm fighting against. It seems like he's just like not even using one. And then he's just like, look up, bro. And it's just this massive book that takes up like the entire city. It's so cool. What a moment that is. I'll never forget that. Marileona. That's a standout character that I think anybody who reads this series will tell you about. She is so fun. The thing that I think most people latch onto about her, and certainly what I latch onto her, is that her archetype is normally reserved for a man. It's like she's like the Kenpachi of Black Clover. She's the character that just loves a good fight. She's always searching for the strongest person in the room and just wanting to fight. Life or death scenario, let's just fight. I don't care what happens to me, I just want to fight. And to see a woman take that role is just awesome and refreshing. It's so nice, and she plays the part so well. She's also amazing in the movie, and I'll talk about the movie in a bit. God, she's so good. I fell in love with her every time she was on screen. What a character. So good. You'll notice I'm not really mentioning a lot of villains, and this series really does lack a strong villain most of the time. Licht is really good, though. I do want to highlight Licht. I think his story, or Patri, it's a very complicated thing. Licht and Patri, both existences, and William as well. the whole shebang, all identities. It's a really good story, and I think all three of them, two of them, however you want to view that, it's just cool. I love how that all comes together. It is a little janky at the end. It doesn't completely stick the landing, but to see that story play out is something that I would not want to take from anybody. I wouldn't want to spoil any details. I wouldn't want to have you anticipate it. It's just, you got to experience it the whole way through. It's really, really cool and unique. And you know, that's after me just saying like, oh, the series doesn't bring much new to the table. That is very much something new. That's something I've never seen before. And the series does have a lot of stuff like that. It's just kind of interspersed throughout a sea of reused ideas from other things. That's pretty much all the major characters that come to mind. There's some other minor ones that I really like Nero, I think is a really good character for the little time she's on screen. Even Zora, he has a cool little arc. He's nothing crazy. I like him well enough. He's a late addition, but he's cool. Noct is a really strong character, actually. That's probably one more I'd actually want to mention for real. He's really sick. I love that guy. His story is also a really unique one that I quite enjoy. This, you know, having to deal with his dead brother that he just can never live up to, and everybody expects you to. It's a very real story that I'm sure a lot of people have gone through. But at its core, you know, the main characters are the strongest, like Asta, Noelle, Yami, any of the Black Bulls. I didn't mention them all by name, but pretty much all of them are great. Finral, I love Finral. Charmy's great. Luck is awesome. I didn't mention Luck. Luck is a really cool character. Vanessa, Gauche has problems, but he turns out fine in the end, I guess. Gray, who he ends up with. Gray's really cool. She has a nice little arc. Really solid core cast that I think really brings this series home. They all bring something like unique to a story that is not unique. Even though a lot of them play into tropes, I think they have interesting spins on the tropes. Like even Noelle isn't just strictly a tsundere character by any means, like not even close. She has so much more going on, but she does play into that trope, which, again, weakest aspect about her, but there's so much more to her that it doesn't even matter. It's just something you can forgive and forget. A cast that I will always remember very fondly. It's just such a fun group to be around. I love any time we spend in like the Black Bulls hideout, just seeing them interact with each other. They're just such a fun group. And yeah, I know, I mentioned mostly Black Bulls characters, and those are the ones that stand out. The other captains are really nothing too special all across the board. Like some of them are fun, but not a lot of them are really memorable in unique ways or in big ways. So a lot of them just kind of fall by the wayside to me. So that is pretty much all I have to say about the general series as a whole. So as always, and again, I've only done these type of videos like 2 times, but I want to go ahead and talk about all the other projects that have come out of this series. So of course, no better way to start than the anime adaptation. The anime adaptation was of course animated by Studio Pierrot and ran from October 2017 to March 2021 for a total of 170 episodes. Of course, the second season has been announced and set to premiere sometime this year, continue from the early parts of the Spade Kingdom raid arc. That'll be exciting. It's a pretty interesting adaptation, decent pacing, sometimes better than others, sometimes it's atrocious, honestly. It's one of those old-fashioned anime adaptations, one of the last of its kind, where it's just a continuously non-seasonal running show that is constantly battling with the fact that it's inching closer and closer to manga publication, and they don't have a plan. So of course that results in filler, and there is a pretty substantial amount of filler in Black Clover. There's in fact a really long arc near the end of its run, which really probably only happened because Tabata was facing so many health issues. There was a lot more hiatuses. They just did not have anything to adapt, which led to the unfortunate ending of the anime at the time. But there is a very lengthy filler arc that stretches from episode 130 all the way to 157, and it's a lot. I watched it, it was fine. It does seem to be pretty well liked amongst general people, just because it kind of fleshes out that time skip gap. You know, people like filling time skips, I know. Like, I've been around shonen communities enough to know that people like every detail spelled out to them, and this is no exception. I think people really like seeing what people were up to during the time that we don't see them. And I do too, for the most part. I think there's some good stuff in this arc, but it's not super groundbreaking or anything. It's fine though. And there's some random filler episodes here and there, but there's only really the one filler arc. The other ones are just like recap episodes or just filler episodes that do like slice of life stuff or maybe a little fight or whatever. The first thing anybody will tell you about this adaptation is probably that it does have pretty bad animation most of the time, but it pops off for the big moments and the moments that matter. It's like, it's just that classic thing. It's like your Naruto's and your One Piece of old. It's just continuously running series, always in production. So not every episode is going to look the same. A lot of episodes are outsourced. It's what they got to do to fill the schedule. But I will say, even Black Clover is kind of subpar. It feels like Black Clover's base level was pretty low. Most episodes looked under par, but the really big moments, the really big fights, they looked really good. And obviously any moment where you get Haruka Mitai, the first opening, playing and blasting in the background, you know it's going to be a banger. That's become a big meme in the community, or just, I don't even know if you call it a meme, just a thing that people know. It's like, when you hear that song, shit's about to get real. In terms of animation and everything, voice acting off the chain, they just pop off for moments with that song playing. And yeah, that's another thing. The voice cast, really solid, but obviously Asta started off as a nightmarish voice, but he really came into his own throughout the course of the series, and I ended up really liking his performance by the end. Took a while to get there, but once he got there, he was able to keep consistent. All in all, it's a fine enough adaptation. I don't think it's anything too crazy, but it is sort of the relic of a bygone era. It's like the last of its kind, damn near, of this, you know, continuously running adaptation. And it's returning with presumably a seasonal adaptation. I guess we don't technically know yet. Based on things we've heard, it's, you know, there's leaks out there about potential staff members and all that, and it's looking really good if it is to be believed. So I'm excited about that. Who knows, really? It's all speculation and rumors, but either way, I do think season 2 will be a much better product on the whole than season 1 was. Can't wait for it. I hope to talk about it in some capacity on the channel. In terms of season 1, 170 episode long season, it's fine. Different microphone jump scare, I know, I'm sorry, but I have to mention the openings. I can't believe I didn't mention the openings in the original recording of this, so I have to say it now. The openings are literally some of the best in anime history. Every single time one would drop, it was an event. Like, everybody was there. Everybody was lined up at the front door to see a new Black Clover opening. It was truly an unforgettable time. Every single one is an absolute banger. And even if you have no interest in the series, I would highly recommend checking out all of the openings. They are insanely good all across the board. Definitely one of, if not the standout thing about this adaptation. There is also a single movie released for Black Clover, which actually released relatively recently on June 16th of 2023, and it was directed by Ayataka Tanemura, and it's called Black Clover Sword of the Wizard King. And man, this movie is awesome. It was worked on heavily by Tabata himself. Some people argue this is canon. I could go either way. I don't care if it's canon or not. I love it either way. I think this movie rules, dude. This is actually, seriously, one of my favorite Black Clover things to exist. It's so awesome. It's just, yeah, it's like pure fan service slop on paper, but I don't care. I love the pretty pictures in front of me. It's all so sick. Every fight is amazing. Mara Leona gets an incredible fight, dude. Beyond words, it's so good. The Asta stuff is amazing. They play Haruka Mitai, and it's cinematic and awesome. I love everything about it. It's about all of the past Wizard Kings coming back to life, and they're being controlled by some thing. I don't really remember all the details exactly. I have to watch this movie again. I loved it so much. I've only seen it the one time, but I think about it all the time. I really do. I just think it's such, like, this is almost as good as you can get for an anime movie. I pray we get another movie because this shit is so good. It's actually, honest to God, one of my favorite things to come out of the entire series. You're probably finding me, I don't have a lot of substantial things to say about it, but it's because as a product, it's just spectacle. It's all fights and fan servicey stuff, but it works so well. Like, it's the best example of how something like that can turn out. I would recommend anybody watch this. This could even be your first experience to Black Clover for all I care. Just turn this on, and if you like the vibe, check out the show or the manga. It is so cool. I love this movie. I really do. All right, let's talk about games. I like video games. I'm a gamer. There's only one console game released, and it's called Black Clover Quartet Nights. It was released on September 13th, 2018, developed by Lynx. I don't know who that is. It's an incredibly bizarre game that is described as a third-person magical shooter, whatever that means. I did play this. I bought it on sale years ago. It was like after I think it was after the anime ended or something. I was just feeling it. I wanted to try something, and it let me down. I did get the platinum trophy in it for some ungodly reason. I guess I was just really feeling Black Clover at that point. It's not very good. It's just kind of like capture the flag gameplay with Black Clover characters. I guess it's trying to be like a hero shooter, but it's not working. I guess this was kind of like Overwatch era. This is a hot genre, and Black Clover, I guess, wanted to get in on the fun. It sucks that this is the game they decided to release because they probably saw the sales of this and were like, fuck, we're never doing that again. But you released a garbage game. Give us the game we actually want to play. Very disappointing. It'll probably never get another console game either. So this is all we got. Quartet Nights. Yippee. Thanks for that, guys. Really appreciate it. There's also 2 mobile games. They both shut down. I am not going to try to review these by any means because I have not played them, nor can I play them. But they were called Black Clover Mobile, The Road to the Wizard King, The Opening of Fate. Ridiculous title. And also Black Clover Phantom Nights. Don't really know anything about them. I'm probably showing something about them on screen right now, but yeah, sure, they tried. And last video game thing is that Asta was also featured, of course, in Jump Force, and he looks just as ugly as every other character in that game. Hideous art style. No other characters from Black Clover featured, just Asta, and that's not like some diss at Black Clover. That game features a lot of series, which is one character present. I'm a little surprised they didn't have like Yuno or Noel or Yami in it as well, because it was pretty popular at the time that released. But at the same time, Deku was also the only one on base roster for MHA, which is crazy. So whatever. So that's the history of games. It's, you know, when I do these videos, and I talk about everything a series or a property has to offer. Generally speaking, these sections will be more filled out, but with something like Black Clover, it's just pretty much one example of each thing. One anime, one movie, and one game, and 2 that shut down. That's the whole of Black Clover. That's all it's got. Something I haven't done in any video ever, actually, is talk about what you guys think about a series or a thing that I'm talking about. So I asked my audience in a community post about their thoughts on the ending of Black Clover and just the series as a whole. I wanted to go over a couple responses today that I thought were interesting, just to kind of gauge, like, what does my community think about it? What's the general consensus on the ending, at least in my tight-knit group of people that watch my stuff? So I wanted to start with this was the top comment, and I tried to pull from a variety of opinions. So some positive, some negative, some kind of in the middle. And starting off with the first comment here, this is the top rated comment from JPBO98, who says, sometimes a simple ending where everything goes as expected and the cast marries each other is more than enough. No need to reinvent the wheel. Exactly. That is very well said, and that's probably the reason this is the most liked comment. It's just, yeah, that's the case. It's just sometimes you don't need to do anything too special. You can just go with the norm, and you can do the norm really well, and I think this did, you know? It's just a perfectly serviceable ending that I think is pretty satisfying. The next one is from Primal44, who says, the series brings a lot of emotion and many thoughts to mind for me. I can confidently say it is my second favorite manga/anime series of all time. Wow, very high praise. It hurts that the creator seemed to have been pretty tired with work towards the end, as it felt fairly rushed and not too fleshed out. Exactly. Especially because we know Tabata can write high-quality arcs like the Elf Saga, full of great fights and character conflict. Yeah, that's a really good point too, because that's something that the final arc was very much lacking in both fields. There are some okay fights, but nothing to the level of anything that came before it. And character anything is just, no, it ain't there. The series has always been described as one of the low quality or at best mid, which is fine because art is subjective and we can't always control what we do or don't like. For me, I feel like Black Clover is the truest love letter to the shonen demographic. The creator genuinely understands why people enjoy shonen series and what they love from them, as someone who constantly talks of their love for Dragon Ball Yu Yu Hakusho. Not many series in recent times have made me care for so many characters in the story to the depth Black Clover has. It was really, really fun, and I'm gonna miss it. Thank you for your hard work, Tabata. Couldn't agree more. Very well said. I don't think of it as highly as you do, but I do absolutely admire the hell out of this series. And the reason I'm including this primarily is because of what you said about how it's a love letter to the shonen demographic. I think that's very well said. It really is. It really just feels like this is a guy who was inspired by everything that came before it, and he's putting it in his work. Yeah, it can feel like copying, but it's also just a man who is so inspired by the things he read that it all sticks with him, and he can't shake it. You know, it ends up showing up in his work, his own work. And I think he ended up making a pretty cool series, despite all of its flaws and borrowed ideas. Next one is probably the most negative comment I picked up here. Just wanted to get a mixture of opinions, but this is from Vinomatic8853. It was most definitely an ending. I would have enjoyed it more if it was not bogged down by what came before it, where it felt like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. We finally beaten the big bad. Was a clone. We beat our revived allies/parents. They came back. We beat the big bad. Another clone. I'm surprised they did not revive everyone else like Noelle's mom when the Wizard King turned back time. Really lessens the impact of Mariliona and her soldiers fight. Also, Yuno sucks. Yes, I agree with that part. And yes, I also agree with the other stuff you said, honestly. This is something that mostly only applies to the final arc, but also the other arcs, to be honest. They have a very bad habit of undoing consequences. It happens literally every arc. Kind of annoying, but it is what it is. Naruto did it too. Next is from HaunchCrow952, says, a really fun shonen that satiated my love for overly long battle shonen. Hell yeah. After the big 3, it felt like MHA and Black Clover were the only 2 shonen that were allowed to last long, and I miss that era. Yeah, those 2 are both kind of remnants of a bygone era at this point. We don't really get series that long anymore, at least not yet. I mean, maybe something that's currently being published will end up being that long, but I doubt it. It's super fun and definitely a must-read for die-hard shonen fans. That said, it has its faults. Yuno never really feels like a fleshed-out character, and the death fake-outs really take out the immersion sometimes. Asta is a great MC and love the power system and cast, although the cast is too big and so many characters kind of just react in a crowd. The series peaked at the elf reincarnation, and it's a shame Tabata's health declined because the Ultimate Wizard King arc really suffered and could have been really good instead. It's all right. Yeah, totally agree on all fronts. I talked about a lot of that in this video. But yeah, the biggest thing about this comment is that, yeah, it really was like a big 3 era feeling series. And I think that's probably why I like it as much as I do. It just takes me back to the era of the big 3. No, it's not as good as any of them, but it just feels the same. And that's nice. It's comforting. Next is from LMMD9348. What a name. Says, I think the best thing that Black Clover has to offer is the characters and the relation that the Black Bulls have with each other, and even with other squads. I think that this last 3 chapters were good, but the last arc was not for me, at least, and I would like to see Asta make big changes to the world, acting as Wizard King, and we did not see him doing anything outside of entering the Magic Knight's entrance exam. And in this instance, no applicant knows who he was at first glance, even he being the Wizard King, and this was weird to me because it seems to imply that he did not do anything that is relevant in the Black Clover world yet for a Magic Knight with no magic equals Asta, Wizard King. Yeah, That is something that I thought about too, but I kind of like it the way it is. Yes, I would like to know more about the world that Asta is shaping with his role, but it's not too much of a detriment to me. Like, it was never really about that. It kind of was. I don't know. I go back and forth on that, I guess, because yes, the world does need changed, and he is the man to do it. He's literally a person with no magic. He can change a lot about the perception of people, but it doesn't seem like he is, or at least on screen. Next up is from Lakshyat Payal 7182. Nailed it. I always felt Black Clover had the potential to be something more than what it turned out at the end. Interestingly, despite how tropey or cliche the entire story is, it had the tools and the means to develop a very interesting, not something very unique, but interesting nonetheless world, which it sadly failed to do at the end. Black Clover as a story would never leave a lasting impression on me personally, and that is very fair. It never really broke the mold or did anything too outlandish. It did a couple things, I would argue. There's a few like really out there moments throughout the series, and I think they paid off. He did take risks throughout the run. But on the whole, it was definitely played very safe. And yes, it did have a pretty interesting world that just wasn't very well fleshed out. He did try near the end, but it was too little too late. We finally get to see all the other kingdoms, but it's so fast that you don't really get to learn a whole lot about them, just that they exist, you know? Fade Kingdom and all the other card kingdoms, they're out there, but don't really care about them. We only care about the Clover one, I guess. There's a lot that I guess Tabata didn't have time for, unfortunately. And the last one that I wanted to talk about is just one that resonates with me and something I had to throw in here because this is what it's all about. From Rika Fan TCG, real by the way, who says, "It was a wonderful ending to easily one of my favorite Jump series. Asta gives me the strength I need to pursue my goals relentlessly, and I can't thank Tabata enough for that." Absolutely, and that is how I want to end this video. Regardless of any flaws this series has, this series' message and Asta's message to the world will stick with me forever. His magic is not giving up, and that magic was imparted onto me. I feel it. I think about him so often when I'm doing something like, man, my life could be so much worse and I could be dealing with so many worse things. We've all experienced hardships. We've all been beaten down in the dirt, but to read about it and to actually have a character stick true to the original vision for the whole way through and be that guy, the guy who had impossible odds but still overcame them, worked hard. He had, guys, I didn't even talk about this part of the story. One of my favorite parts of the story, Asta loses function of both of his arms. Devastating moment, and it seems like all hope is lost. He will never achieve his goal. He's even down in the dumps about it. But when he can't rely on his own strength to persevere and get through something, he can rely on his family, his friends and family to get him through and soar beyond the barrier and find a way forward. That is what Black Clover is all about to me, and that is what it means to me. It's a message that will always stick with me, and I love it so much for that reason. Thank you, Tabata, once again for creating this series. It wasn't perfect, but my God, did it leave a lasting impression on me, and I will always love it for that. Thank you for watching this video. I put a lot of work into this one. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoyed. Stick around, got plenty of other videos to come. Plenty more you can watch already. Remember, you can also become a channel member at 3 tiers. You can click the join button to see which tier works best for you. Get things like emotes, early access to new videos, exclusive monthly videos, one coming soon, name in the credits, and if you join at the highest tier, you get your name read out loud right now. So thank you to DJ Tengen, Milu Kitty, Braden Farrell, Halfpipe, Rafker, the Cosmere64, Cosmic, Key to the Skies, Iliadis, Noobs Rock, Dan, and the World's Worst. Thank you all so much for your support, and thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys in whatever you decide to watch next. Take it easy, guys.